Hiya fishy folks, and welcome back to Michael's Fish Room. Today let's talk about ammonia. I've seen this a bunch of times recently on social media, and it's kind of a big deal because ammonia kills. Alright fishy folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about ammonia. Now ammonia is definitely a killer in our fish tanks, and it comes from a few different places. Obviously, and maybe not obviously, which is why you're here, if your nitrogen cycle crashes, you could have excess ammonia, which will kill your fish. Even 1 part per million ammonia is deadly to your fish. Now, deadly, will it kill them in a day? Probably not, unless they're already sick. But deadly, where in a couple of days, 1 part per million ammonia will probably kill all your fish. So, where does the ammonia come from? Well, your cycle could crash. Let's just say you have a community tank with 10 guppies in it, and you went out and you went to michaelsfishroom.com, and you were like, damn, those are nice guppies, and those are nice guppies, and those are nice guppies, and plecos and cories. And you bought, let's just say you bought 10 more fish, and you threw them in your tank. Well, your cycle is probably going to crash because the beneficial bacteria that's already in your fish tank isn't going to be able to maintain and keep up with the excess bioload you just introduced. So probably for a couple of days, your ammonia will be high. Now, the thing about a cycle crash is if one fish dies, that fish will start to rot and cause more ammonia. So you really got to be aware. You really got to check for dead fish. If you have high ammonia or suspect high ammonia, grab one of your test strips from Aquarium Co Op, or perhaps your Fritz Master Test Kit. Check for ammonia. Where else can ammonia come from? Well, it can come from your source water. That's right, folks. If you're on city water and the water company uses chlorine to sanitize or disinfect the water, that chlorine can bond with ammonia, causing chloramine. Now, I'm going to read something to you because, like I said, I'm not that bright and I don't remember. But chloramine is a chemical used to disinfect water. It is ammonia, NH3, bonded to chlorine. It resists breaking down, and it's used because of its stability in water. Many commercial chlorine removers can be used to remove the chlorine, but when used alone, the ammonia is left over. Okay? So, if your water company uses chlorine, sometimes they use straight up chloramine, but if they use chlorine and there's ammonia in the water, it'll create chloramine. If you use a simple chlorine remover, you'll take care of the chlorine or chloramine, but you'll be left with the ammonia. So what does that mean? That means don't just use chlorine remover. Use a product like Fritz ACCR or Fritz Complete, Seachem Prime. All of those are chlorine removers, but they also neutralize excess ammonia. I have a video on how to do a fishing cycle. I'm not going to go over all that here, but if you're interested, take a peek at this link to do a safe fishing cycle. I've been doing it for years. Brand new tank, 10 fish, no problem, no deaths, very easy. Follow the video. All right, where else can ammonia come from? Well, if you have excess chlorine in your fish tank, on some tests, some liquid tests, it can show up as ammonia. So a couple of things to think about. If you do a water test and you have high ammonia, but everybody is acting fine, perhaps your test is giving you a false negative. Maybe try a different style of test. As an example, if you're using a liquid test, say the Fritz Master test, and you get a high reading, but your fish are acting normal, and you've done the test a few times, you've made sure it's fine, maybe you've gone to your buddy's house and used his test kit, or you brought your sample to the local aquarium center and have them test the water, and they all say it's high chlorine. Try a different, high ammonia. Try a different test. Try like an Aquarium Co Op test strip and see what you got. In addition, you can also bring your water to a pool company, a pool maintenance company, and have them tested to see if there actually is indeed chlorine and ammonia, or is it just chlorine? Just a couple things to think about. So what do you do if you have ammonia in your source water, great question. You're going to have to follow that video that I linked before and basically double or triple dose, your Fritz Complete or Fritz ACCR to neutralize that ammonia. And then hope your beneficial bacteria can catch up and process that ammonia through to nitrate. Besides adding too many fish at once, there are other ways, obviously, to crash your cycle. If you clean your filters incorrectly, for the best way to say it, you could crash your cycle. If you overfeed, you can crash your cycle. If you change out your gravel and don't think about the beneficial bacteria living on the gravel, you could crash your cycle. There are quite a bit of ways that you could crash your cycle. So if that happens, watch that video I linked about the fish in cycle. Don't panic, you'll be fine. All right, fishy folks, thanks for watching. Just as a recap, there are a couple ways that ammonia could get into your tank. The important thing is, don't panic. Watch the video that I linked about the fish in cycle. That'll save your fish from ammonia poisoning, nitrate poisoning. Even if you have excessive nitrite poisoning. Even if you have excessive nitrate, that video will help for sure. If you have any questions or comments about ammonia or need help, certainly leave a question down below. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do so right now. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the bloopers. They're always the best part. Perhaps your fish... Okay, where does... Brain fart. Well, if you have city water and the water company has added excess chloramine to clean the water and keep it healthy, the chloramine can bond with... No. Your source water, I'm gonna say that again. Your source water can be a source of ammonia. Now, sometimes it's actually not ammonia. Sometimes it's ammonium. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Okay, where else can ammonia come from? Well, it can come from your source water. That's right, folks. Now, if you're on city water and the water company uses chloramine to sanitize and disinfect the water, the chloramine, no,